Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary to share another contemplative focus with you. So this morning, after a brief, or I should say lengthy break, we're back on to share more of these contemplative focuses with you. And the reason for this, of course, is to remind us of the process of our own evolving consciousness, to remind us that that's what's going on here. So, and the question that we're going to work with today is, why do we protect ourselves from our true reality? If we are blissful consciousness, and blissful consciousness is ultimate freedom, why do we hang on to our egos? Why do we protect our egos from being consumed by the truth of who we are? Because blissful consciousness by itself has so much power that it will consume any illusion that might exist around it, if it so chooses. But our truthful nature is not going to go away. It's not going to change. It simply is what it is, and there's nothing endangering it because we want to protect it from being consumed at this stage in our own evolution. So our identification with the ego drives us to protect the illusion that we think we are, and ultimate freedom comes when the ego is no more. It could be said that because reality is too real, we temper it with the mind. The reality that is too real is blissful consciousness. Its high amplitude power saturates all and everything. It is constantly on fire within itself as itself, and it consumes all that it encounters. Its bliss is an ecstasy beyond compare. And if you had an awakening experience, which many people have had who are watching this, we've all had a taste of that reality, and that is like honey to the bee. It's a reminder of how ecstatic our truth is and how limited our ego is. And yet here we are. We are still in our egos, listening to this broadcast or doing whatever we're doing, but we're holding off on just allowing ourselves to just burn up with ecstasy. You might put it that way. So the reality that is true reality, that which is unlimited in the pure joy of its incredible being, is our truth. Everything here is pure consciousness, pretending to be what it is not. And this is what consciousness intended. It wasn't something that we did. It wasn't something that was by an accident. It was a conscious creation by consciousness so that it could fully experience itself. And in order to do that, it had to create a pretense. It had to pretend to be what it's not. And that, of course, is the ego. That's something that is separate from consciousness, something that is not consciousness. And so in this pretense, in this creation, we as human beings experience all of that separation, all of that disconnect from our true sourceful self. We have issues, we have guilt problems, we have self-worth problems, and on and on and on. And if you look at the human stories, all the human stories, they revolve around this. They revolve around the ignorance that we have about our true reality. They revolve around judgment and endless thinking about ourselves in ways that are just absolutely insane sometimes. And so, and I know in my own case, I went through a lot of this too, even after my initial awakening experience that gave me much, it gave me a taste of this, all right? So, and because of the ecstasy that I experienced in that awakening experience, I was drawn to it like a moth to the flame. It was so good, all I could think of is, I want more of it. I want to get back to that. That's all I want. So I began to meditate. I began to entertain anyone who wrote books or about meditation or about consciousness, etc., etc., and I was very immersed in this whole process. And for many years, I explored this on my own and had experiences in that validated the path that I was on. It validated that I was going in the right direction, because here and there I would get those experiences that took me beyond my ego. And so, but the ego-driven mind, the protection mechanism, was still fully there. I had to live as an ego or I wouldn't have the journey, right? So here we are, going along, meditating and whatnot, thinking about how great it is to have those awakening experiences whenever they come and however they come. And it's in this desire for more bliss, at least in my case, that kept me going. So the ego mind helps us to keep going within our own illusory experience of being identified with our ego. It dims the full-on blinding light that we are. It helps to keep it down so that we can keep evolving as a human being. And this is the post-awakening evolutionary process. We study ourselves. We use the ego mind to understand consciousness and its mechanics. And then we become more and more familiar with the processes that we're actually experiencing, no matter what we call it, whether we're aware or even if we're not meditating. If you're alive on this planet as a human being, you're involved in your own evolution at some point. So consciously or unconsciously, that's all that's happening here, is consciousness is evolving itself to itself for the sake of itself. And so in this post-awakening evolutionary process where you're more aware of consciousness because you've touched upon it, you've had some experiences of the bliss that you are, and then you seek and are attracted to people who teach and who help you in this process. And you become attracted to people that others might fear because you know what they're talking about from your own experience, and that overwhelms you or overrides any doubts that you might have had. And your own truthful experience of yourself also helps to guide you in terms of who is a legitimate teacher in this world that has been there and can help you in your journey to get there, whatever there is in your beliefs. And so we struggle on, and we, like I did, I've meditated for many, many years, and I tried to do it all myself, you might say, which really didn't work too well. But it was still an attempt. It was still a driving force in my life that I could not let go of. Because the power of an awakening experience is something that I could never adequately describe. It's just so powerful that it's the all and everything of your life. Once you have it, you got it, and you're going to have to go with it or not. Maybe in the beginning of the evolutionary process, we don't stay with it. We have it, and then we think it's gone, and that's that, and we kind of drift off back into our unconscious selves. Could be all kinds of things that we go through in order to get to where we are today. But the point I'm making here is that consciousness is evolving itself. We're not doing much of anything other than going along for the ride, because we don't control. The only control we have in our evolutionary process is practicing meditation. It's about maintaining a focus in that direction. It's about evolving ourselves through meditation and the experiences that we generate from that until we gradually bring ourselves to the point where the fear of extinction, you might say, of the ego is outweighed by the desire to become our truth, to allow our truth to be fully there, fully present, consciously, so that our ego can be burned up, it can be extinguished, and then we can experience ourselves fully as blissful consciousness. Sounds great, but if you're tested, as I've read some books and whatnot, where some of the tests were pretty harsh, jump off this cliff and so forth and so on, the teacher would say, and there may be many lifetimes where you reach that point where you have to actually let go of all your fears, and you're still not quite ready to do that. So that's just the way consciousness evolves itself. The disappointment you might have after failing a test or whatever you want to call it will further drive you again to give it another go. And the bliss of those experiences, the truthful experiences you have of yourself, also pulls you closer and closer to that point where you're just ready to say, okay, fear it's not worth giving in to fear for anything, because it just pulls you down again. And I believe in my own evolution that this is a process that I've experienced in this life and probably many, many more. We were protected from our cellular history in this particular case here at Sanctuary because we've had many experiences with our teacher that were not all that pleasant, and so that would not interfere with our processes. In this particular instance, no memories were allowed to penetrate and go through. I know many people that claim to have memories of past lives, but I'm not sure if that was real or not. Didn't bother me any. I haven't had any. So all I know is that the processes I've been through in this life have been incredibly powerful, and I regret nothing, because I've had the experiences that I've had, and I'm here even today, moving along as I do, as we all are here, evolving ourselves, trying to keep Synchronicity Foundation and its intention, which is aligned with our intention to evolve ourselves, available for people to experience, irregardless of where they are in their journey, irregardless of whether or not they agree with anything that I just said here. It doesn't matter. We just want the place to be here for people to have the experience of the energies that are here. And so far we've been quite successful in this, and I'm kind of in awe of the success that we've had in some ways. But then that's an egocentric perspective, isn't it? Because we're not successful. Consciousness is successful, and we're just going along and cooperating by choice to do what we have to do to realize the goal, if you will, of keeping synchronicity here for people to explore, to experience, and to have a taste of. And that's really it. It's we protect ourselves from our true reality because our identification with the ego drives us to protect the illusion that we think we are. So it's one of these situations where you look at from an egocentric perspective, you were ignorant of your truth, then you were made aware of your truth, and then you went on this big journey to fully embrace your truth. But that's probably doesn't happen for most people who are in that process, because they're still working themselves to that point where they're ready to just give up all the resistance, they're ready to give up all the fear, and they're ready to stop being someone that has to be evolved. Because that too is an illusion, right? So it's just getting out of our way entirely, and that's really what the journey is all about. That's why we protect ourselves from our true reality, because we want to be successful, even though we already are successful. Irony, is everywhere in this journey, and I really enjoy witnessing it day after day after day. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I'm happy to finally have gotten back on track here, and I will be back again next week with another contemplative focus to share with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a blissful day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Thank you so much.